What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the All In Podcast. I am one of your co hosts, Eli Cooper, and I'm joined once again by my guy, Mike Badzik. How's it going today, bro?
Mr. Cooper, it is great to see you. Fresh cut Coop is what I should call you today. Also, I want to say our intro music is so hard. There it goes again. On demand almost.
Yes.
Our intro music is so hard. So I'm excited, man. This is this is our little award show. You know what I mean? So we've been tossing and turning and thinking about these picks. So excited to get it out there, man.
Absolutely, man. Shout out to my cousin, Anthony Shelton, who is the creator of our intro music. We appreciate the hard work he did on putting that together for us. Absolute fire. Yes. But yes, we have our second annual NBA award show. This year, unfortunately, does not include the entire panel of our all-in NBA analysts. Most of those guys were a little busy, so their votes were factored into the awards that are being given out tonight.
Yes.
Now there's two awards that have already been given out, obviously, but I'm pretty sure our entire panel voted the same way for each of those awards. So no big deal. So before we get started, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button if you're tuned in on our YouTube channel. If you're listening on an audio platform after our live show here today, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button there as well. Leave a rating and a review, which helps us get noticed on different platforms. You can hear us on all audio platforms: Apple, Spotify, Anchor, Google, and also watch us on YouTube. So make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel, and we appreciate you guys tuning in with us here today. So where do you want to start, man? Where are we kicking it off with? Well, I don't think we should do MVP first, right?
No, we might as well save it.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. I'll quickly just want to fill you guys in on how we did it this year. So we had our all-in NBA panel. Me, Coop, obviously, the usual suspects: Todd, Fetzko, Sean Turner, Taylor, and Tizzo. We had Tito. First time on the panel this year. He's going to start doing some NBA stuff with us, so we counted his votes as well. And then we had one category that was a tie, and we'll share that when we get there. And that tie was broken by our all-in DFS and fantasy guy, DFS and bets guy, Kyle Cooper. So he broke that tie for us. So that's how we did it. We all each voted for all the individual awards and 3 all NBA teams. So you want to start with the all NBA teams?
Yeah, let's start with all NBA. I think first team was pretty easy in my opinion. And the first team ended up being Steph Curry, Luka Doncic in the backcourt, Giannis and Joel Embiid. Embiid qualified as a forward, so they took the forward spots, and at center, Nikola Jokic from the Denver Nuggets rounded out the rest of our first team All-NBA. Any bones to pick with this list here?
Not for me. So me, you, and Todd all had, and Tito all had this same list. Sean and Taylor both had one change. I think they were maybe thinking Embiid as a center and Jokic as a center, not putting them both in the same team. So Taylor had Dame on his first team replacing Embiid, and Sean, I'm sure not being biased at all, had CP3 on his first team instead of Embiid. But these 5 ended up, and I think this is the correct 5. I think this is the 5 it will be and should be. So I got no gripes with this first team.
Yeah, no gripes for me either. The only questionable one for me that I kind of went back and forth was Luka or Dame.
Yeah,
I thought Dame had a really good case, but towards the end of the season, the Mavs made a little run there.
Yes.
Now they're in the 5 seed, correct? As they're taking on the Clippers, up 2-0 on the Clippers as well.
Ooh.
With him absolutely scorching all those elite defenders that the Clippers supposedly have again for the second year in a row.
Well,
and this time it's worse.
Can I can we take a second on this Clippers and Mavericks series?
Let's do it. Yeah.
And I know that this is the award show, so we don't want to dive into all these series, although we haven't got to talk about them. So maybe we should talk some. But the Clippers, listen, man.
Frauds.
Kawhi's about to be out of there. I wouldn't blame him at all if he was out of there. And guys, the basketball IQ of Luka Doncic versus the Clippers right now, I've never seen more evident a beatdown of basketball IQ where he's literally picking them apart. They don't know what to do with him. And also, there's an element of lack of urgency from this Clippers defense, this defense that was supposed to be last year, especially, and now this year too, was supposed to be this team of stoppers. Can't do anything right with him. They tried Patrick Beverley in game 1. That was a catastrophe. Game 2, they're willing to throw Paul George and Kawhi at him more. But these pick and rolls and when they set screens on the primary defender on Luka, they don't know what to do. What to do. He's getting to whatever spot he wants. They're trying to go under these screens. The big, who maybe should be hedging, is about taking 3 steps back towards the paint. It's not great from an effort perspective. It's not great from a game plan perspective, right? We're starting to have questions about Ty Lue. But, and I understand that. We want to force Luka to shoot, right? The game plan would be force him to shoot threes because that's, if there is a weakness in his game, it's the 3-point shooting. And it really hasn't even been that spectacular. I mean, he's hitting them. He's hitting them for sure at a better clip than he did in the regular season. But they're sagging so far off of this. I mean, if you give the guy 5 seconds and 5 feet to shoot, he's going to make them. Especially when he's already hot, right? So, there's no in-game adjustments, it seems like. And maybe this is just what Luka does to a team, makes their coach look bad and makes their team look bad. But it is concerning for the Clippers.
It is. It absolutely is. And I'm wondering if Ty Lue is running too many pin downs for Paul George.
You think so?
I'm sorry. Maybe he needs to mix in more isolations and pick and rolls. Isn't that what Paul George told us was the issue? That's why he wasn't playing as well. I thought that's what the problem was.
I love Paul George.
That's what I had heard. I don't, but what do I know?
But really, even Paul George wasn't. I mean, he was pretty good last night.
He was okay.
28 points. I mean, Kawhi kind of went crazy with the 41 piece, and they just can't do anything with Luka. They cannot get stops. Dallas had 100 points after 3 quarters.
Yeah, and this is one of the things about Dallas's offense is when those guys are hitting threes.
Oh yeah,
Luka's completely unguardable. Because you can't really help on him at all, and he's just so crafty.
Yes.
With his footwork, the way he uses his body to get to his spots. You can't speed him up. You can't make him uncomfortable. I mean, that dude's gonna be good for so long. It's honestly scary because of how skilled he is. You know what I mean? His game requires no athleticism whatsoever. Even the dunk on that he had on the Morris twin was just he barely even got up there. He could do that dunk when he's 35. So it's none of this is him being super athletic.
He's strong.
So he's just so strong, and he's so skilled. And it's dude, this guy's going to have one of the longest primes we've ever seen because of how skilled he is.
Well, he's only 22. I mean, can we think of someone, LeBron when he was 22, I guess he did take them to the finals, that terrible Cavs team. So, that, he's up there with that. Magic, his rookie season, won the championship with the game-winning shot. Obviously, he wasn't the best player on that team. But as far as, how good you could be at 22, he's top 3, top 4, he's up there.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. So, all right. So let's move on to our second team All-NBA, which consisted of Dame, CP3. There you go, Sean. Kawhi, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert. Any bones to pick with this?
So looking at our ballots lists, we pretty much had a top 9, right? We all pretty much had the same 9 guys, and that was the 5 we just listed, plus Dame, CP3, Kawhi, and Randall, right? And then we were kind of looking for that 10th guy to fit in with that. And then it ended up being Gobert. He actually tied, points-wise, he actually tied with Jimmy Butler for this 10th spot, right? So it could have gone to Jimmy because of the positions I just gave it to Gobert just to make it look prettier. It could have been Jimmy, though. So we had a top 9 that we were comfortable with. And then Gobert gets thrown in there. I think on my team, my second team was CP3, Dame, Kawhi, Randall, and I actually had Harden in with this second team, which is a tough one when he only plays 44 games, but he was, so good in those 44 games. And this is going to be a common theme with these all-NBA teams is we didn't, I don't think the media members who are going to vote for these, it's really tough to work through the injuries and pick who deserves to go where, Do you knock them down a team from maybe where the stats would show they are because of the injuries? Do you take them off completely? So we had a little inconsistencies across the board with how we handled that. So Gobert, actually, he was on everyone but you. You had him on second team. Everyone else had him third team. But he ends up on this second team because he was on everybody's, at least one of the teams.
Right. I actually had him third team. I had Bam.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Todd had him second team.
Yeah. So I did. That was my the 2 discrepancies I have with what ended up being the final vote. I had Bam over Gobert, but I mean, you can honestly go either way. I'm not upset with that, or that's not a crazy call. Mm-hmm. But I thought Bam was better offensively and still provided, the defense. And at times, like early on in the season, Bam was like their number one option and their go-to guy when Jimmy was out, and was barely keeping that ship afloat for a little bit. So I gave him a little more credit there. For the guard position, I had someone who probably didn't make any of our didn't make any of our teams, was Donovan Mitchell.
Yep. And
I don't think Donovan Mitchell is getting nearly enough credit for the season he had this year. And granted, a lot of people think the Jazz are fraudulent, so I understand why he's not getting the credit. But for them to be a number 1 seed, the number 1 overall seed in the NBA, and he doesn't make any of the teams despite averaging 26, 5, and 6. I mean, those are all NBA numbers, and he has an all NBA record.
That's true.
So I put him on the second team. I had him over CP3 because, his load was larger.
It was,
than CP3's was. And if you want to talk, if you want to talk value, there's a legitimate argument that CP3 brought more value to the Suns than Donovan Mitchell did to Utah.
Yeah.
But I would say for all NBA performer, I like Donovan Mitchell there on the second team over CP3. But again, I understand the CP3 love.
Yeah, but
he makes every team better. It's
and I will say, like last year when we did this show, I don't know if you remember this. Last year when we did this show, I had Kyle Lowry on my second team. Everybody else had CP3, and the reason was, and I don't want to spin words here, but mostly it was, it's mostly a career achievement award because we didn't expect him to do this, have this much success with that Thunder team. Right? Was that basically close to what it was? Now this year, a lot of it was. A lot of it. I mean, he also had a really good season. But this year, I think it's part lifetime achievement and that fact that he's gone to another team and turned them into a top 2 seed in the conference, like completely shifted and changed the culture along with Monty Williams, who we will maybe get to, a Coach of the Year finalist. But also he's played really well. And, you can make an argument for Booker to be on these teams. A couple of us had Booker as well on the third team.
I did.
So yeah, you did. I did too, actually. So the CP3, I could see it. I think he's going to be on second team because of it. I didn't go with Mitchell on any of my teams, and I probably would have gone. Maybe could have gone with him instead of Booker on that third team. This was a tough team to crack for me. This second team, like I said, we kind of all agreed on those first 9 guys, pretty consistently, at least to be towards the top, right? I mean, if you had them, they were on everybody's teams somewhere. Most of us had them on second team, or Taylor had Dame on his first team. Sean, was doing his own thing with CP3. So I think New York legalized weed recently, didn't they? So he might have been a little under the little Rastafari in there. So it's all good there. But I agree with. I think Mitchell does deserve more love for the season he had. Just not quite enough for me to make it on the team.
Feel you. Okay. So before we get to third team, remember, guys, if you're listening or watching us live right now on YouTube, Facebook, or we're back on live on Twitter today, remember, you can leave comments on any of those platforms, and we'll show them up here on the screen. So if you think any of these picks are crazy, like CP3 being on the first team, if you think that's absurd, as you should, leave a comment and tell us why you think that's absurd, and we'll show it up on the screen. Sean's watching, so he'll see. Let's go ahead and move on to the final team, which was the third team. The Nets backcourt, Kyrie and Harden, Jimmy Butler, LeBron fill out their forward spots, and then Bam comes in on the third team here. That's some bones to pick here, I must say. So first of all, if we're pure performance, Harden absolutely deserves to be here, right? Like, he was incredible when he was healthy, but he only played 36 games. He played literally half the season. I couldn't put him on my list over Devin Booker with him only playing 36 games. So that one I was, and again, I get it, but I disagree very strongly with him being on an all NBA team. Kyrie was like, I thought about not putting Kyrie on there, and I realized he played 55 games. But him taking so many personal days rubbed me the wrong way. So I did vote for him third team. I had him here because he was really great, and he did play, as many games as Embiid almost, so I couldn't really punish him. But LeBron, I also have a bone to pick with.
Oh, jeez. Don't do this. We're pro LeBron here.
We absolutely are. But come on, 45 games. Like, that's not even – it's just barely over half the season. And if we're being completely honest, he wasn't –
Whoa. What's about to happen here?
In those 45 games, he was not like Harden. He was not incredible in those 45 games.
25, 8, and 8.
Those are average numbers for LeBron. Like, that's an average. He gets that sleepwalking.
But exactly, and sleepwalking, he's first team All NBA, but he missed.
Right. But so if he slept walk and played 72 games, absolutely, he's on the All NBA team. If he did 25, 8, and 8 and played, but him missing so many games, I don't think he deserves a spot here. I had Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum was great, even though the Celtics underachieved. It certainly wasn't because of Jason Tatum, and he played more games. So I thought he got robbed a little bit here.
So me, I don't not if you're 7 seed or lower, you're out of these teams. So I do not have Tatum on any of my teams. Listen, I have LeBron on there. So another thing, like I said, we were kind of torn on how to the injuries, right? So just to give you guys an idea, like regarding Harden. So me, Taylor, and Tito all had him second team, right? You, Sean, and Todd all had him off completely, right? And that's because you guys weighed the injury and said, he didn't play enough games to make it. And we looked at it and said, well, he didn't play enough games, but he was pretty good. He was 25, 8, and 8 when he did play. So maybe we punish him a little bit and pull him back to third team or second team for Harden. But LeBron, don't hate on my man LeBron. Come on now. Come on. LeBron was 25, 8, and 8. Look at them when he wasn't playing. They were buns. right?
Yes, yes,
And now,
absolutely.
like, you know,
Well, hold on.
another,
You had a 7 seed rule for Jason Tatum and not LeBron?
yeah, absolutely. Because LeBron missed those games. They wouldn't have been
Okay, all
the
right.
7 seed if LeBron was playing those games. And without AD as well, he was keeping them towards the top of the Western Conference without AD. You know, like that in itself is an accomplishment. So I'm not taking it away. Maybe I could see the Harden case a little bit more. He did play a few games less than LeBron. His team probably needed him less than the Lakers needed LeBron. And he also, I don't think he actually did have the stat line that LeBron did. I don't know what Harden was averaging when he was playing. It was probably about 25 a game, and I don't think he was getting the rebounds that LeBron was. So we're pro LeBron here.
We are.
We spent the first few weeks of this podcast hating on LeBron. We will regret that until we die. So I will never say anything bad about him.
Well, and just to be very clear, when Mike says we, he's referring to him and Todd.
No. Hey, listen, man. We're married on this podcast. It's me and you, bro. We're one flesh, okay? When I say you own all my takes and I own all your bad Eagles takes.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. So there's our all NBA teams for you guys, first, second, and third. We'll see how the actual NBA is given out, but I think ours are more, accurate, right? Is that fair to say? Like we have more knowledge than regular sports writers.
Yes, because we are hoopers. We get buckets.
Exactly.
These sports writers, man, they're just nerds who knew somebody's uncle. So
yeah, exactly.
We're not worried about what they say. You guys get it from here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's go ahead and get to the awards that we had. So this will include MVP, Coach of the Year, Most Improved, Sixth Man, Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. And I think some of our awards might shock you. Let's start with Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. We were unanimous actually in this one.
Wow, I did. Okay, see, I didn't actually know that we were unanimous on this. I was surprised when you told me this earlier.
Yeah, we were unanimous with your boy Ben Simmons, and we also should mention we are a anti Rudy Gobert podcast, so he got no love from us regarding Defensive Player of the Year. We did throw him on an All NBA team, but Ben Simmons was the best. Easily the best defensive guard in the league. The hustle stats are always off the charts with him. I'll let you talk about your boy, though.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Simmons is the best defender of all time. When he wakes up in the morning, he pisses defensive excellence.
Is that right?
That's the first one's a little bit of an exaggeration. But
pissing? Okay. No, good.
But Ben Simmons, no, in all seriousness, he's the most versatile defender in the NBA. There isn't a position that he can't guard defensively. He's incredibly active, and he's not the kind of defender where he gets a lot of steals and blocks, but can't actually keep people in front. Ben Simmons actually gets steals and blocks and keeps you in front. He's a hound defensively, and was part of the second most efficient defense in the league this year, the leader of the second most efficient defense in the league of the Philadelphia 76ers, who are also the 1 seed. And I think their improvement defensively was a big part of that. And say what you want about the guy on the offensive end, there is nothing to poke at his defensive game. There's no flaws. And this year, I thought that was the case. I actually think in real life, Rudy's going to win this. Even though I disagree, and I get it. Like the rim protection is super valuable in today's game. But to me, I think the versatility is more valuable when you're talking about teams that switch everything now.
Yep.
I think that's way more valuable than a guy being able to block some shots at the rim, and not just block shots. He does change shots, and he defends the rim well. So I don't want to discredit him. He's the best defensive center in the league. There's no doubt about that. But the best defensive player this year was Ben Simmons, and I'm glad the panel felt that way and agreed.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said. Like what we should maybe value in a defensive player in the NBA in 2021, and it really starts with versatility, right? So all the reasons that we loved LeBron as a defender the past, pre 2017 probably was that he could guard really 1 through 5. That's what we loved about him, and that's what we loved about all the great defenders that we can think of who aren't centers. I just think because switching is so important in today's NBA, Gobert is not a center who can switch out on a guard and hold his own on the perimeter. He may be better than most 7-footers, but he's still not. That's not an ideal defensive scenario for you is to get him out on the perimeter. So,
right.
And I understand the rim protection, and that is important, and it does make a difference, and it shows up in the advanced. You talk about defensive rating, you talk about defensive box plus minus. He's neck and neck with Simmons in those categories. But right. I'm with you. I would rather have the versatility. I would rather have the guy who's going to say, I'm going to guard the other team's best player, right? Because, most of the time, 99% of teams in the league, and really that's not 99%, 29 divided by 30 teams, whatever, best players are not a center, right? So Jokic and Embiid are an exception. But most of the time, it's a wing player. The person you really need to get stops against in the playoffs is going to be a wing player. Ben Simmons, you can put on that person and say, forget it, you've got him. Something we thought we could say about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George before last night's, really before last year's playoff run, but especially it was exposed last night. I don't think we have those concerns about Ben Simmons, and I'm not sure there's many other players in the league we can say that about.
Agreed on all counts. He was the best defender in the league for me this year as well. So wow, unanimous. That was shocking to me that came out unanimous. When you told me that, like I said, when you told me that we voted that way, I was actually pretty surprised. Yeah. So shout out to we got a sixer on the board this year. We got just one. That's all I needed. So let's go ahead and move on to the 2 awards who have already been given out. So we'll talk about these guys a little bit here. Jordan Clarkson wins 6th Man of the Year for the Jazz. Any gripes?
No. I mean, he did kind of tail off towards the end of the year, but he came out so strong that I don't know that the competition for this award was very competitive this year either. Maybe not compared to most years anyway, so no gripes with Clarkson.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, he was honestly, if you want to look at someone who had a big hand in them being the 1 seed, he had a big hand in it because of the bench scoring that he provided this year. I think it's the perfect role for him, honestly, is that 6-man role because he's not really efficient, right? He's not someone that you really want to be one of your top 3 options offensively. So coming off the bench is ideal for him leading a second unit because scoring is what he does. And you don't really have to worry about efficiency when you're coming off the bench. And one of the things Gilbert Arenas taught me about guys who are really good 6 men is typically when those guys come into the game, like Lou Will or Jordan Clarkson, they're coming in the game and the defenders that are guarding them either have 1, maybe even 2 fouls, right? Because your Donovan Mitchell might have drew 2 fouls and the guy that was guarding him. Now Jordan Clarkson's coming in, he's getting that guy. So those guys are a little more hesitant to play aggressive defense, right? At that end of the first quarter, or if they aren't in foul trouble themselves, the team might be at 3 or 4 fouls to where you're in the bonus, right? After getting fouled 1 time. So if someone, you make 1 good strong take and now you got your team they typically come into the game in the bonus. They get to the free throw line a little bit more. So I think that helps with his efficiency, right? He has to take less shots because he's coming off the bench. Team's probably in the bonus when he's in the game, at least end of third quarters, things like that. So he clearly flourished in it. I think it's great because I do think he's a talented player. And also he doesn't have to play any defense, right? Because his limits are limited. His minutes are limited, so he doesn't have to be, a great defender, which is also something you'd rather have out of a starter. So he put on a show this year as their sixth man. He had some huge games for them. Big ups for him, man. He had an excellent year, well deserved for him, in my opinion.
Now let me ask you this. Because Jordan Clarkson was going to be a star in LA. There was a time there when the Lakers were bad.
Yeah.
That he actually had a chance to be pretty good. So let me ask you this. Current players in the league to date a Jenner or Kardashian.
Okay, I love this.
Where does he rank, right? So Ben Simmons is number one, right?
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker.
He is the current Kendall Jenner boyfriend. So he's the best, and he's the best out of those guys. So it's like, so the list would be Booker, Simmons at 2.
Yeah.
Blake was washed up, so I don't know that I'm gonna.
He's kind of trash now.
Yeah. I mean, I like D'Lo, so I'll put D'Lo third.
Okay.
I probably put Clarkson fourth, and
Kuzma.
Kuzma. I'd take Clarkson over Kuzma.
I would say Clarkson over Kuzma.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, Kuzma at 5th, Blake at 6th.
But that's just Kendall.
Yes, right. That's okay. Kendall's top 6. I believe.
Okay.
But I don't. Wow. But see, I don't think any other current NBA players have dated a Kardashian.
Right.
Chris Humphries. Chris Humphries is gone.
Lamar Odom.
Yeah, Lamar Odom's gone. Kylie Jenner likes rappers.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And security guards.
Right, exactly. So, wow, that was a low blow.
I know, right? I know. If Crystal can see this, she's gonna be texting me.
She's gonna be upset.
She's gonna be texting me.
Sean, don't tell her not to watch.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the other award that's been given out, which is most improved.
Yes.
Obviously, Julius Randle. He was the clear-cut option for this award. We did. Oh, Sean made a great point. Tristan Thompson. Yes. He's Tristan Thompson. I don't know how we forgot about him. He's the GOAT. Anyway, Julius Randle, most improved player. He was incredible, leading the Knicks to the 4th seed this year. We had him second team All NBA. He maybe was like 6th or 7th, I would think, in like MVP voting. He had to be at least top 10 with how he played this year.
Oh, for sure.
There's not enough great things to say about him. He got better last year, but he soared this year. He's a better 3-point shooter. His ball handling's better. He's in much better shape. Mm-hmm. He's not fat anymore. Like he's like almost 99% muscle. You know what I mean? So he was able to maintain his mobility and his athleticism and his strength while by turning that fat into muscle. And I think that's been a big part of his improvement. Julius Randle, most improved player. What were your thoughts?
Definitely deserved. I think this was the easy choice. Now, I will say, he's been pretty good from a statistical standpoint, right? So, that year he had in New Orleans is probably where we started to see it, right? So he averaged 21 that year. His first year with the Knicks last year, he did average 20, ups it to 24 this year. And even at the beginning of this year, we're looking at Randle, and really I think the consensus was he's a guy who can put up stats for a bad team, right? So we thought of him. There's Crystal. So we thought of him as maybe he's a fantasy guy or someone who puts up the stats, but it doesn't contribute to winning. That changed this year in a real way. Thibodeau probably had something to do with that, with adding a little defensive identity, but also the biggest thing was the 3-point shooting, right? So this year, he kind of ups it. He had been kind of trending this way, so he averages 2.5 3-point attempts a game. Then he goes to 3.5 last year, ups it to 5.5 3-point attempts a game this year, and he shoots 41%. That's an increase from 28% the year before. So from a statistical standpoint. Looking beyond just points, He's doing it all, and he's doing it in winning ways. He also has really underrated vision as a passer, right? So he was averaging 6 assists this year. That's about double from the year before. Like, he's really doing it all for this team. That's why it was so surprising to see him struggle so much in game one against Atlanta. And we're live right now, and they're going to play game 2 here tonight. So I don't want to make any predictions about it, but I assume he'll get better.
Yes.
But I think it's a good sign for the Knicks that they were even that close with him playing so poorly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that was one of the things when I was watching game 1 that I noticed was, the Knicks' depth and next man up mentality is kept them alive. Really, they had the lead for a lot of that game and really probably should have won it. Tibbs made a questionable sub at the end there to put in a cold Frank Nitkalina, or however you say his last name, on. Like, he didn't play a single minute the entire game. They threw him on at the end of the game to guard Trae Young, who had been killing you the entire game. There's an argument that they probably could have won that game with him playing that badly. So I like their chances. If you're the Knicks, you have to at least be thinking like, Julius is going to play much better. So I kind of like our chances in this series.
Yeah, but Alex Burke
isn't. Yeah, Alec Burks, man. He's a strange kind of guy, right? Like, no one really gives him a lot of credit, but like last year he was like really good for the Sixers. Even though the Sixers weren't good, he was really good for the Sixers, and then he exploded in that game against the Hawks.
Yes.
Offensively, he has his flashes, man. So going to be interesting to see how that series pans out for the Knicks and the Hawks. All right, so let's go to Coach of the Year.
Okay.
We voted Monty Williams from the Phoenix Suns. They were the 2nd seed this year. Well deserved. I don't really have a gripe here, even though I did not vote for Monty. But well deserved for sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, when you look at what this Suns team has done this year, like becoming the 2nd seed in the West, I think like before the year, and they started to trend this way in the bubble last year. I remember that winning streak they went on in the bubble, and we were thinking, wow, could they even get in the playing game? Who knows what's going to happen? They didn't end up making it to the playing game, but they carried that momentum into this year, grabbed Chris Paul along the way. That's helpful. And we probably thought, they had Chris Paul. What is this team going to be? And I think a lot of us said, maybe we even talked about it on the pod, they're looking at like a ceiling of a 4 or 5 seed, most likely like a 6, 7 seed. And that's kind of where we expected them to be. To take this team all the way to the 2 seed it is really special. And Monty Williams is a guy who a lot of people gave up on, right? And the Pelicans or the Hornets, that run did not work out. And people kind of looked at it and said, maybe this guy is a better assistant coach than head coach. Well, he's proving all of those people wrong. I love his story. Gone through a lot of stuff, gone through a lot of tragedy in his life, and has really persevered. And I think he's well deserving of this award. So you had Tibbs, and Tito also had Tibbs. So I also think is right up there, having a great season, and what he's done with that Knicks culture is very impressive. But I think it's got to be Monty.
Yeah, I would be thrilled for Monty Williams to win this award. But because of everything you just said, all the things he's gone through, not only in his personal life, but as a coach, I thought that I said it when he got fired on Twitter. When the Pelicans fired him, I thought it was an injustice. They clearly didn't get the talent that he needed for them to be any better than what they were. This is by far the best roster he's had, and they're up at a 2 seed. So I never thought it was Monty Williams that was like holding the Pelicans back. And I understand, franchises got to go in different directions and stuff like that. Although I'm not sure how Alvin Gentry, who was his replacement, is a different direction. But I understand when a team isn't necessarily getting to where they want to go, they gotta find someone to blame besides themselves. So it is what it is. But I'm glad he's landed back on his feet. I'm glad the Suns have given him time to develop this team. And not only have they done that, they've gone out and gotten him the pieces that he's needed. By adding Chris Paul. Chris Paul was the missing piece, if you ask me, from this group. And Mikal Bridges just needed to get a little seasoning. Cam Johnson, our boy Cam Johnson, like some of those guys just need a little more seasoning, and including DeAndre Ayton. And now, you get veterans around them like Chris Paul and Jay Crowder. It's unfortunate that Chris Paul is once again hurt in the playoffs because, I think it puts a damper on this Lakers-Suns series. Because I'm not sure the Suns can win with him being less than 100%. You know what I mean? Yeah. He played 23 minutes and he just doesn't look comfortable. Like even when he's out there, he's not Chris Paul. So it's just, it's unfortunate that that's the case. And they're probably going to get bounced in the first round because of it.
You think so?
I think so. Unless he magically heals up within this series. I just, it didn't look good for them last night. They were competitive, of course.
Yeah.
Which they're going to be throughout the series, but they can't win games down the stretch, if you ask me, without Chris Paul.
Well, and it's also kind of unfortunate for them that they drew the Lakers here, right? So, of all of the teams that they could finally have this great season, and they end up with the defending champion, probably best team, we all think. At least like best contender, right? So the team built to win. If you look at our chat right now, they're all saying Lakers are going to win the championship, and for good reason, right? So it's kind of unfortunate. They might honestly be the second best team in the West.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think they are. I think that's a fair assessment. Is that they're the second best team. We're watching the Western Conference Finals right now, if you ask me. The winner of this series is going to represent the West, and I think that's going to be the Lakers because CP3 isn't healthy. Tito's right though. Cameron Payne has been playing well, but like, how long do you rely on that? You know what I mean? How many games can you count on Cameron Payne? Even though he's been great, like not just this series, he's been really good for them all year. I just, you know what I mean? I don't know that that's who I want to rely on as like my third or fourth option offensively.
Yeah. I don't think that's sustainable, especially against this Lakers team. Like, he's probably a good bench option, right?
Yes.
We talk about Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench and giving you minutes and giving you some buckets off the bench. He's that type of player to me.
For sure. Agreed. All right. So, Monty Williams gets our Coach of the Year from the Phoenix Suns. Congrats, Monty. Well-deserved. And next one we got to talk about is Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
Because for like 30 to 40 games, this was a runaway, right? But it's gotten a little tighter down the stretch of the season.
Well, yeah.
However, LaMelo Ball did edge this one out in our voting. This is one of them that came down to the tiebreaker, right?
This is the one that came down to a tiebreaker. So myself, Todd, and Taylor all went with LaMelo. You, Tito, and Sean all went with Anthony Edwards, and Kyle, our tiebreaker, went with LaMelo to give it to him. So, I think that, this is another one. Like, what do we do with the injury, right? It's not like he missed the whole year. He played 51 games. That's what 2/3 of the season or so, maybe 3/4 almost. He missed 21 games, but when he played, I think he was by far and away the best rookie. Would you agree with that? That at least when he played, he was the best rookie out there. I know Anthony Edwards did end up, he came on strong. He put up some numbers. Wasn't my brand of basketball, personally.
Right.
As you probably know.
Oh, yeah, I do.
LaMelo does actually play. And we've talked about LaMelo a lot, right? We've talked about the style, and we've talked about the shoot first point guard and this and that, and how we don't think that can ultimately be successful. But, like, turns out he's actually not that style of player, right? He is mostly pass first. He does a great job with vision. So he actually turned our heads and a lot of people's heads this season. So I went with him, and he ended up getting it for us.
Yeah, I voted the opposite way. I went with Anthony Edwards. I was pretty consistent in punishing guys who missed games.
Yep.
So I stayed consistent with that here. And not only that, the second half of the season, Anthony Edwards was just as good as LaMelo Ball to me. And obviously LaMelo has the ball in his hands more, so like the assist numbers are going to be better. He's absolutely an incredible passer, which was not always his game. That's something he's kind of developed as he's grown, literally and figuratively as a player. So he's gotten a lot better in that area, and it's like to the point where he might be a better passer than Lonzo, which I don't think anybody expected when they were coming out of high school. And he wasn't as bad defensively. Like he's bad, but like he wasn't as bad as I thought he would be in his rookie season. And there's definitely potential for him to get better there. So, and he also shot the ball much better than I expected in his rookie year. Given his form's a little wonky, he shot it pretty well. So LaMelo was great, but I went with Edwards for, essentially almost 20 points per game from a rookie, and Anthony Edwards, or 19 points a game, about 5 rebounds.
Yeah.
And he really came on strong towards the end of the year, man. Like he was great. And he was very polished as a scorer this year, which is what we kind of expected, right? That was the thing we knew he could do. But I wasn't sure that he was going to be up at 20, points per game or in that area. And he started coming off the bench, worked his way into the starting lineup. The Timberwolves have a very nice core here if they can get those guys healthy. Like D'Lo, if he can find a way to stay healthy.
Wait. Are we sure about this?
Listen, offensively, I should say
Towns is good at all.
He's good. I wouldn't say that he's great. Like he used to be in the conversation with Jokic and Embiid. He's not anywhere near that anymore, right? And so like no. Yeah, D'Lo defensively is bad, but he's a very good offensive player when healthy. So like offensively they've got some talent for sure. They're going to have to figure it out defensively though.
I think they need some more structure, right? They need
that too.
Who is going to come in and actually, and we've said this about Cat for 4 or 5 years now, who's going to come in and push them, right? And this ownership group,
the new
ownership group, right, is going to have to allow that coach to do that without getting rid of him, right? And they're going to have to look at Karl Anthony Towns and say, either you deal with this because you need this, or we're going to try to trade you. And maybe both parties are fine with that. I wouldn't be surprised if they tore it down though and traded Karl Anthony Towns and tried to get what they could and maybe even moved D'Lo.
Agreed. So LaMelo, well-deserved Rookie of the Year. That one was a closer one than I thought. I thought he'd run away with it. I thought I might be like one of the only people who voted for Edwards, but I think he will win it in real life. So there's no doubt there, but I think Edwards will steal some votes.
I think so because of the injury.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So last but certainly not least, is the MVP award, which we've talked about on this pod, I think. Right?
We have.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. Nikola Jokic won it. Right.
Of course he did. Of course.
I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty safe that he's going to win it in real life. So not a huge surprise here, right?
No, not a surprise at all. So everyone went with Jokic besides you, as we knew would be the case.
Really? I was the only one?
No, actually, Sean
Who
went with Steph Curry.
Of course. Okay. All right. Someone voted for Curry. That's good.
So, and listen, Curry's probably going to get third. So I'm not going to bash Sean the way we did for the CP3. Now it's a bad pick, right? Because he has no chance. But it's okay. We love Sean, so we won't bash him too much. He's you know what? There's no reason to hate on the man. He's a good guy, good family man, right? He stands for the right things. he just makes interesting picks sometimes when it comes to these awards. So,
in fairness, his vote was better than your guys's.
Oh,
Nicole is
brother.
not the MVP.
Oh,
he's not.
He's
the MVP.
All right,
he's not the MVP.
Let me lay out the case for you.
Okay.
May I?
Go ahead.
Please. May I, please?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
You sure?
100%. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay. Played every game, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Every game.
Okay.
26, 11, and 8. Okay? We're in rare error with these statistics, okay? Those type of numbers. We're in rare error. Okay? When Jamal Murray got hurt, they did not miss a beat. In fact, in some area, you could argue they actually got better record-wise after Jamal Murray got hurt. That's how well Jokic played to keep them afloat. Not only keep them afloat, but actually improve them from where they were. Here's a stat that's going to blow your mind. Defensive box plus minus. Jokic actually higher than Embiid. Actually higher than Embiid. Now, I'm not saying he's the defender Embiid is, because, of course, he's not. But he has had a very significant impact defensively this year. He's actually been really good. He's actually been really good defensively this year. So there's no holes in his game, okay? And I think, you kind of second guessing yourself here with this injury punishment, right? So you punished every single player. You punished every single player for injuries besides the 76er. How did this happen? Chat, please explain how this happened. I'm at a loss. I don't know.
Well, I have to say that there was absolutely no bias in that whatsoever.
Doesn't sound like it.
Just to be clear.
Sure.
So here's my counter to your Jokic argument.
And I'm not accusing you of bias here. I'm just accusing you of random hypocriteness. It happens sometimes. It happens to me sometimes. You just randomly change your mind about how you want to do things. It's okay.
Well, I could not be on this podcast, the prior weeks saying that Embiid or Steph Curry should be MVP and then vote for Nikola Jokic. That's ass backwards. So that wasn't going to happen. So my case for Embiid is well documented. You can watch it in our last episode, I believe.
Yes.
Is when we talked about that. Here's something interesting. This isn't even really a counter, but here's something I posed this question on Twitter, but you're not on Twitter, and maybe some of these people don't follow me. If you don't, you guys can see, you should be able to see my tag up there at EL1_Coop. Go ahead, give me a follow. I have great content. Anyway, blind resumes.
Okay.
26, 11, and 8. Mm-hmm. Defensive rating 109. Team record 47 and 25. Okay. That's resume 1. That's player A. We'll call him player A.
Okay.
Player B, 28.1 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists per game. Defensive rating 107. Remember, the lower the rating, the better. So better rating than player A. True. Record 46 and 26. Who are you taking?
Well, I'm taking player A.
You're taking player A still?
Yes.
You know who player B is?
No, I don't.
It's Giannis.
Well, here's the thing. These voters are going to look like dummies whenever the Bucks make the finals. And they all say, well, we're not voting for Giannis this year because – and I've made this point on the podcast before that he really should have been the MVP if we're just, he's having the same season as he had the past. So, he really is having the same season as Embiid, basically, plus a few more assists, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. Yeah, he averages more assists.
Yeah.
I did not check Embiid's player rating. Player A was obviously Jokic.
Right.
So, but that's a slim difference between Jokic and Giannis's resume, and he's not even in the top 3, right? And like most people wouldn't even consider giving him a first place vote. So, there's some inconsistencies on how this award gets picked. It's like 1 year it's top best player on best team, And then this year we were like, well, Donovan Mitchell, for whatever reason, wasn't good enough to fit that mold. So like, then we'll go to like who has, right, which is fair, right? So then we go to like, all right, who has the best numbers on the highest seed is kind of what we went to. But like Giannis had the best numbers on the highest seed.
Yeah, it's silly.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
silly.
I don't know. It's just, it's narrative driven. It's very narrative driven.
It's 100% narrative driven, right? We wrote off Embiid at the beginning, or not Embiid, I'm sorry, Giannis at the beginning, and said it does not matter what he does. He could have averaged 31, 15, and 10, and he wouldn't have gotten it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you, man. I've been on that train. I agree 100% that it's not really fair how we're doing this year. It's almost, and I said this, not on the podcast. So I think that we would agree this is a hard season to pick MVP.
It was.
Because Embiid missed a bunch of games. Jokic was, probably really good, but we didn't love it. Curry was great, but, they were also the 8 seed, I'm sorry. Giannis, we decided we weren't going to give it to him.
Right.
And my suggestion was, okay, and we're a LeBron-friendly podcast. What if we gave it to LeBron as reparations for all of the times he should have got it,
right,
and he didn't get it?
Yeah, like 2018.
That was like 2018. Okay, 2011. There's a strong case. I know Derrick Rose was fantastic.
Yeah.
Or was that 2012? There's a strong case for LeBron.
2011.
I can't remember when Derrick Rose was. Yeah, 2011.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, because he became conference finals. Yeah, so, you could make a strong case for LeBron. Then, even the year Harden won it, you could make a strong case for LeBron. And a lot of the years, he's not even finishing top 2 in voting. So, we could just give it to LeBron.
Yeah. Honestly, LeBron's value alone showed with his timeout how far they dropped in their seeding. So, and that was my biggest case for Embiid was when he was out. Low key, the injury kind of helped him because they were 9-11 or 9-12, something like that without him.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my case for Embiid. It was like, listen, this team is not nearly as good. They're a below 500 team without Embiid on the floor. We don't this year, we could probably make that argument for Jokic, especially after Jamal Murray went down. But, if Jamal Murray's healthy, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know that they're below 500, especially after getting Aaron Gordon. So, there's a lot that goes into that. Like, are we doing true value? Because like Jokic ain't in that discussion. Like CP3, LeBron, Steph, like those guys are in that discussion for like we're talking about most valuable if we're going by definition of the award.
Is in that discussion.
Luka's in there.
Wait, so are you saying you're against my LeBron idea?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Although I am generally in favor of reparations.
I was gonna say, how are you anti-reparations? You're racist.
I am anti-reparations for the MVP award.
Gotcha.
But
makes sense.
I am very, very pro reparations.
We are a pro reparations podcast. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for today's show. Those are all of our awards. I'll actually be doing an article which is going to kind of recap these awards for you guys. But remember, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button if you're watching on our YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you know when we go live like we did today, or when new content drops. So make sure you guys turn those post notifications on. For those of you who are tuning in on the audio platforms, thank you once again. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. You're leaving a rating. Tell your friends. For those of you that follow us on social media, or even if you don't, you can find our social media at the bottom of the screen for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And visit our website at allinnetwork.net. We have all different types of content available for you guys, from articles, podcasts. There's some merch on the website that you can get. So make sure you guys are visiting all those channels. And if like I said, if you follow us on social media, a share goes a long way. It really does. So, you see our posts on Twitter or Facebook, it takes 2 seconds for a retweet or a share to help someone else find out about our podcast. So if you enjoy our podcast, let somebody else know about it just by hitting the share button or the retweet button or even the like button, any of those things. And we appreciate all of you guys who listen to us, on a daily basis, or occasionally anybody who tunes in to hear us rant about sports. We appreciate you guys.
Damn, that was kind of beautiful, man.
Thank you, man.
That was great. I agree with everything. I co-sign everything he said. We're going to have some more NBA playoffs now that they're kicked off. We are in full swing with covering that. I promise I'm going to talk about baseball soon. I promise I am. I also want to give a shout out to Phil Mickelson, 50 years old, winning the PGA Championship. That's my guy.
Yeah.
You guys know I
Lefty.
love my golf, lefty. So I hope you guys got to see some of that. I know NBA players are going on at the same time. Keep an eye on everything that we got going on. Hit up the website, allinetwork.net, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 69.
What?
Of the All In Podcast. Episode 69 of the All In Podcast. We'll see you guys again next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great night.